This video gives information on the essential items in any agricultural lease. It was created by the University of Missouri Agricultural Business and Policy Extension Program as part of a series to help landowners and farmers better use agricultural leases. A good lease transfers rights from property owner to tenant by answering the who, what, when, where, why, and how questions of the transfer. The who question identifies both property owners and tenants. Because they may be businesses, such as partnerships or corporations, it is important to use the proper business names on the lease. If other owners or tenants are affected by the lease, they also are acknowledged. Sometimes a single piece of property may be leased to different tenants for different activities at different times. For example, one tenant may have the right to plant and harvest row crops, while another tenant has the right to hunt on the same piece of property at a specified time. Each tenant needs to be aware of what rights they have to the property. Good leases clearly state what activities can be done with the property. A tenant granted the right to grow crops on the land may have some restrictions placed on that activity by the property owner. For example, the property owner may require the tenant to maintain conservation compliance. Other examples of what questions include: can the land be subleased? Can the cropping farmer charge hunters to use the land? Missouri law specifically denies the tenant the right to assign the lease interest without obtaining written consent from the landowner. Another important what question: what expenses is the property owner responsible for? This is particularly important to specify in share leases. But even cash leases may have the property owner providing some expenses, such as liming the soil. Several when questions are also important in a lease. Because a lease is a transfer of rights for a specific period of time, the beginning and ending dates of the lease need to be clear. Leases longer than 1 year may be desirable to both the tenant and property owner. When and if the lease will be renewed is important, because if the lease agreement does not give clear details, many states define by law the lease renewal terms. Missouri law requires a 60-day notice prior to the lease anniversary date to terminate a verbal lease. Another when question revolves around: when will the rental payments be made? Cash rent is often paid in full near the beginning of the year, but can be spread out in several payments. With share leases, the commodity is received at the end of production. The where question clearly identifies the property being leased. This is often done by providing the legal description of the property. Providing an aerial photo with property lines adds clarity. The why question may not be written into a lease, but understanding why each person is entering into a lease is important to maintaining satisfying long-term leases. The tenant wants to use the property for business and to make a profit. The property owner's reasons for a lease can range from wanting financial payment to maintaining improvements to building soil quality or helping young farmers get started in business. The how question clarifies uses that are allowed and disallowed. The property owner may specify that, along with the right to grow crops, the tenant has the responsibility to use specific production practices, such as no-till production, or avoid certain activities, such as removing water quality structures. Without a written lease, it may be difficult to remember the multiple answers to the who, what, when, where, why, and how questions that are all agreed upon in the lease negotiation process. Written leases also provide important information to property owners, tenants, and others about what was decided in case the tenant or property owner becomes unable to continue the lease. At the very minimum, there are 5 essential items in an operational lease. Who are the property owners and tenants? What property is being leased? What is the length of the lease? What is the rental rate? And lastly, there should be signatures on a written lease. Better leases discuss and record decisions to all the who, what, when, where, why, and how questions.